asked a lot how to become a trucker and tips and tricks on the CDL. As far as becoming a truck driver, you have several options. You can go work for someone that'll train you, like Swift or something like that, or you can get hired on with a state agency that'll train you. You can pay a low rate school and get it really quick. You can pay a little bit more money, go to a decent school, or you can pay a lot of money and go to your local college. But I highly suggest you look and see if your state has any programs to help you pay to get your CDL for free, because some of these states will actually do this, and this is the way I recommend if you can. So there's those avenues. I mean, you could even go use somebody's truck and test yourself. And here's how the process works. First thing you need to do, and you need to double check your state laws, because this is how I did it in Nevada. First thing you do before you do anything, go do your CDL physical. It's about $100. Just type in CDL physical and where you live. And that's the reason you want to do this first, is because you can't do nothing else until you get this certificate that says you're safe enough and healthy enough to drive. And without that, there's no point in wasting any time in doing anything. If you have underlying medical conditions, you need to be cleared by a doctor. You need to talk to your doctor and or the CDL physician first to make sure that they don't disqualify you to drive. And once you know that you can drive and you're healthy and whatever, the next thing you need to do is go get the written book. And study the book, study it online, do the practice tests online, and then you can go, actually if you want to, you can go do your CDL written test. You can actually get your permit. You have to have your permit for a minimum of 14 days. Now if you go to a trucking school, they're going to walk you through all this, so don't worry about it. But if you're trying to get your CDL on your own, or you work somewhere that you want to train to get it, this is how you would do it. And this is how I did it. So after you get your physical, like I said, you get the book, you study, you do the practice test, you go down the DMV, you take your written test. You want to do, if you're going to do Class A, do your Class A air brakes, doubles, triples, tanker, and if you really feel ambitious, do your hazmat. I have not done my hazmat yet. Wow, the wind's picking up, guys, and I don't care because this is the 8th time I've tried to film this. If you can't get your hazmat, you may want to wait to do it because you have to do thumbprints and all kinds of stuff. It could delay it. So that's one option. And like I said, if you go to a school, don't worry about it. They'll walk you through everything, or the college, blah, 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 blah. It don't matter. I mean, if you're going to do the college route, I mean, you kind of want to make sure that you can actually legally get your CDL before you pay all that money to do it. And like I said, if you have any questions, call your local agencies, call your local trucking schools, talk to people, you know, just act like you're interested in doing the class, and I'm sure that they'll answer any questions that you have. But the biggest thing is check your state and local laws. And the other thing I'm going to be looking into and making another video on is a kid told me about a CLP, a Commercial Learner Permit. And I don't know if that allows you to get it before you're 18 or what, but it's something I got to look into. So now that we've established on how you can actually get your CDL, let's go about the testing. The first thing you need to do is read that book front to back. Okay, here's what's going to happen. They're going to answer questions. They're going to ask you questions, and they're going to try to trick you. And here, when you look at the questions, and this is how the school's going to train you to do it, there's going to be obviously wrong answers that you know that is wrong. Like if you've read the book, you know that a truck can't stop in 10 feet. That'll be like one of the answers. So you have A, B, C, and D. You have a 25% chance of getting the right answer. Now, I highly recommend you study and you don't do it by process of elimination, or you're going to end up taking the test a million times. So, like I said, study the book and then go online, do the practice test. You go down to DMV, you show them that you have your medical card, and then they're going to allow you to take the test. It's probably anywhere between $50 and $150 to take the test, depending on what state you live in. If you're over the age of 21, I believe, make sure that you do the option to where it allows you to drive within whatever state. It's either 21 or 25. I can't remember. When you're 18, if you're young, you're only going to be allowed to drive within your state. If it's windy, I apologize. I don't have time to wait and do this stuff at another day. And you guys have been asking, and I'm going to deliver. If you're under 18, you're going to have to work somewhere local. You're not going to be able to go out of state. They're just not going to allow it. So you pass your written test, right? And then they're going to give you a paper, and they're going to give you your Class A or B intern learner's permit. Okay, and you have to have this for a minimum of 14 days. Okay, and let's say you're doing all the testing and you're learning all the skills. So here are some of the things to practice, and people are going to argue about it, but you're going to have, a lot of states require you to double clutch. Some don't, some do. Look in your book, figure out how you have to shift, learn how to do that. That's very important. You need to learn how to take off without hopping your clutch. You have to make sure you don't miss a gear. The other thing to do when you're taking your drive test is you want to be looking in your mirrors all the time. All the time. You want to be aware of your surroundings. You want to make sure you don't cross the lines. You want to make sure that you drive according to that book as much as you can. You're going to go ahead and make mistakes, and it's not a big deal because you can go ahead and retake the test after a certain amount of time anyway, so it does not matter at all. Even if you go do your first time just to know what to expect, that's what matters. But before you even get to the drive test, you're going to have to do what they call is the pre-trip and the skills test. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, it has been a long time since I've done it. They're going to make you do an air brake check. So if you have a single trailer, you're going to start your truck, you're going to build up your air all the way, and you're going to, I think the first thing you're going to do is they're going to have you pump the brakes until the buzzer comes on to make sure your buzzer works and to make sure that your brake pops out. I can't remember, it's been a long time, okay? You guys have to bear with me. The book will tell you everything. It'll explain the process. And then you're gonna build your air up again, okay? Is what you're gonna do, you're gonna turn your key off, shut the engine off. You'll turn on newer trucks, you'll have to turn the key back on so your gauge comes back on. You're gonna apply like 90 pounds of pressure to your brake pedal, and you're going to hold it there for 60 seconds. Now the trick to this is to hold your foot steady, because if you let off and press it again, you're going to bleed air. If it bleeds a certain amount of PSI in a certain amount of time, they're going to fail you on that. Also, make sure you have your insurance and all registration, because without that, they're not going to be able to do anything. Please stop being windy. Please, please just stop for a second. This is Nevada, so you're going to do that, and then they're going to do your pre-trip. The main thing I can recommend on the pre-trip is to check everything. Put your hands on everything. Touch every nut and bolt. Look under the truck. Grab the starter. Grab the turbo. Grab the hose clamps. Every single hose clamp. Grab the belts, the pulleys, anything that's mounted, and just check it. And make sure you check your oil and you visually check. Tell them you're looking under the truck and looking for fluids. Tell them you're smelling around for any weird smells or this or that. But the thing is anything that you could possibly see on the truck needs to be checked. Now we know that nobody's going to do this on a day-to-day basis, but for the purpose of a DMV test, you want to do it so much that they're like, okay, we can move on. But you need to read your book, because some states have a certain amount of things that you actually have to do. As what I recommend, if they actually list those things that you have to name, I recommend that you make a list and you study that list, and you go to your truck and you do that list over and over and over and over until you memorize it. Okay, and then after you do this and you pass that, they're going to do what's called the skills test. You're going to have to parallel park, you're going to have to back in a straight line, you're going to have to demonstrate a handful of maneuvers. And the way you practice this is you go to your DMV, and a lot of times out back they have it set up. If not, go inside, go talk to them. They might have a sheet of paper that'll explain the spacing on the cones and have a complete layout that you can mimic with cones, and you can go ahead and do that. The hardest one, in my opinion, is the blind side docking, to where you don't have the full amount of, it's just the length of the truck, and you have to back your trailer in and cut your truck over at the last minute. Or I know in Nevada, in order to pass it, you have to have 75% of your truck in the space, and that's how I did it. My skills test, I was the worst part for me. It was the hardest part, the most nervous part. Just the trick is you got to practice all this stuff. Like, it's just, like I said, if you have any questions, just do trucking school. They will make sure that you know everything you need to know, exactly, and only the stuff you need to know for that state. The truth is you're going to hone your skills in on the job and whoever you work for, and that's just the way it is. And when you go to do your drive test, don't do it in a truck that has a warped clutch. If you do it in, this is what I did, they docked me because it hopped, okay? They took that as me not letting the clutch out smooth, and I told the lady the flywheel's warped, there's nothing I can do. You know, they didn't have very many manual trucks left at the state because most of the snow plows are automatic. So tell them you want to take your truck, you test in a truck that has, you know, a decent ability to drive. So you do your drive test, you're going to take off, make sure you use your blinkers, make sure you look around, make sure you're aware of your surroundings, proper following distance. Make sure, according to your state, if you're turning and you have multiple turn lanes, or if you have a single turn lane onto a single road, that you do exactly like the book tells you to do, or they will dock you. You have to get a passing score of like 80% or something like that. it's really not that bad. It's a lot more intimidating than you think. It's just so hard. It was so long ago for me, guys. It's just hard. Like, it's after having it for over 10 years, 12 years I've had my CDL, you just don't think about this stuff anymore. And then you guys asking me all these questions has really kind of made me think about all the stuff I used to have to learn. And like, now it's just, when you drive long enough, it's almost muscle memory reflex. Like, I can't even explain how to shift. Make sure you take your test in a manual, because if you take your test in an automatic, you're only going to be allowed to drive automatics. Well, automatics are real trucks too. Yes, they are, but I'm going to tell you what, if you will work for a company that has automatics, you're going to be stuck there until you find another company, and you're going to be stuck doing a certain type of thing. As time goes on, I don't think this will be as relevant, and it'll be a lot easier to get your CDL as more and more and more trucks become automatic. Even heavy haul trucks are automatic now. I prefer driving a manual because I've been doing it so long. It's pretty easy for me. I mean, I like to make that truck do what I want it to do. But there's just so many things, and there's not one answer I can give you guys that's going to magically help you pass that test. Everybody learns a different way. Some people are going to learn by reading the book. Some people are going to learn by actually going out to a truck and doing it over and over and over and over. And that's how I learned, and that's probably how the majority of you guys might learn. But practice is everything. If you don't put the effort and you don't put the practice, and if you don't dedicate almost all of your energy into learning how to drive that truck and pass the test, it's gonna be difficult. There's a handful of people out there that are just, they go in there, do it, blah, 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 blah. I've seen some people on the road that if they can get their CDL, I guarantee you can too. There's no reason you can't do it. And the most insane part is every state is different. Like, I got my CDL in Nevada. I moved to California after so many years. I had to redo the written test in California, but when I moved back to Nevada, I didn't have to redo the written test. Some states are harder, some states are not. If you live next to a state where it's easier to get, you might consider, and you have a friend or something there, you might consider changing your address and getting it in that state or something. I don't know. And a lot of times, if you work for a local company, they're going to require you to have a CDL in that state in which you got hired in. It's just the way it is. I'm going to do another part on this. This was just kind of all the thoughts I had on my head. That you can obviously tell that if I'd have to make a lot of TikToks in order to cover this whole spectrum of what I just said. But there's just not really one good answer unless I individually answer every single person. Ask what your situation and scenario is. If you don't have the money, you need to look at ways to get your CDL for free. If you have money, you need to look at the most efficient way to get it. If you're a book learner and have money and you're book smart, you might want to do the college or just go get it and learn everything else on your own. If you live in a smaller town with big industry, like a mining town, go get on with a company that does all that, or go find a company that's hard up for drivers. If you really want to learn about trucks and you're young and you're not able to get your CDL yet, go work for a company that has trucks in their yard to where you can wash them and help work on them, help do tires, and you'll get to drive them around the yard and hook them up to different trailers and do all kinds of things. And that right there will put you so far ahead of the curve, it's not even funny. And if you're a kid watching this, I don't ever recommend going against what your parents say, but don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't be a truck driver or you're too good to be a truck driver or this or that, because I think that's absolutely not okay. Most of us truck drivers make really good money. It's just a different way of life. It's if you start off doing it when you're young, it's all you'll ever know and it won't be an issue. It's harder to do it after you've been doing a certain thing. Like if you've been in a 9-to-5 job for like 10 years, you go to being a truck driver, it's going to throw you in for a loop, because you're going to be waking up at different times every day. You're going to be going to different places, different things. And some people like that. I can't, I'm not a conformist. Okay, I don't like having a routine. Routines scare me. Doing the same thing every day scares the living crap out of me. And I cannot do that. That's why I like working these crazy schedules. I like being at home, getting called in, whatever. I like doing what I have to do to get the job done and all the craziness that entails truck driving. It makes it fun. And a lot of you guys are like, oh, I want to do what you do. How do I become a heavy hauler? That's another question. Well, here's the God honest truth. truth. Unless you end up just working for a company that'll train you up from the base, you're gonna have to put the time in. It's gonna take you at least 5 years to be able to do something like that, because the first couple of years you're gonna have to get miles under your belt, and then from there you're gonna have to start working at different companies that'll let you do different things, so you get more and more experience every time you switch jobs. And you have to be able to get outside your comfort zone. If you can't get outside your comfort zone, you can't do this. This isn't just something like regular something. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You have to be able to just go with the flow, and you have to be able to be fluid. You have to be able to improvise, adapt, overcome. Do you want to be union? Do you want to be non-union? Do you want to get paid by the mile? Do you want to get paid by the hour? Do you want to get paid by the load? Do you want to travel all over the United States? Do you want to go from point A to point B back to point A? Do you want to do regional, where you go for a whole week at a time and you go make your rounds? You get back by the end of the week, you're back home, you take your days off, and you start it all over again. You got to remember, like, if you do things like hauling ore, side dumps, or dirt work, you're going to be doing a lot of loads at the same places. If you do stuff like ready mix, you're going to be doing a lot of loads at the same places and a lot of loads at different places. If you do local stuff, you're going to deliver to the after a while, you're going to deliver to everyone you're going to deliver to, for the most part, with the exception of the anomalies, and that's going to be it. What I do, we go all over, and the drillers explore, so we never really go. We do visit job sites again, but we go to just as many new job sites also all the time, as they're rotating in and out, and the old ones are done and they're getting new ones. That's why I love my job, because it's like we're never really going to the same place twice that often or in a row, and that's the kind of stuff I can't do. But you need to sit down and you need to make a list. You need to make a list of the stuff you want. Like I said, do you want to get paid by the mile, load, or hour? Do you want salary? Do you want benefits? Do you want to be local? Do you want to be point A to B to point A? Do you want to run 11 western states, eastern states, southern states, northern states? Do you want to go international, like as in from USA into Canada, or from USA to Mexico? You just need to make a list of all the stuff. After you do some research, Google trucking and this and that, and you make you a list, and then you try to find a company that fits within that scope. And that's going to be the best way to get started. But the thing is you might have to take what you can get the first couple of years, because until you get some miles under your belt, you're really not going to have a pot to do whatever in, because they're going to take. Here's the other thing too: don't get taken advantage of. First year CDL drivers get taken advantage of all the time. You're not. If you're getting 36 cents a mile for training, I get it, but you need to be making at least 45 to 55 cents a mile. If you're getting hourly, you need at least 18 bucks an hour if you're doing local stuff. And if you're doing equipment hauling, I'm going to say at least 23 to 25 an hour. And heavy haulers, you need to be $27 to $32 an hour. You need to be making at least $60,000 a year. If you're not making $60,000 a year as a truck driver, you need to find a different job, unless you just don't want to make that kind of money. There's money out there to be made. Oh, the other thing is team driving. Team drivers make a lot of money. Do you want to be in a truck with someone 24/7? Like, it takes a special kind of person to do stuff like that, but it's just something you got to ask yourself. And a quick Google search of local trucking companies or whatever, call them, talk to the recruiters, ask questions. You're never going to make someone mad by asking questions, and if you do, that's not someone I recommend working for. I never recommend working for somewhere that can't answer your questions. And another thing that I've learned, don't go in there and feel like you're the low guy on the totem pole and you have no leg just to stand on. You go in there and you negotiate with them. You would be like, hey, sometimes if you're getting paid by the mile and you can negotiate just a couple more cents a mile or whatever, articulate why you should, do it. It never hurts if you can get a little bit more. But just always tell them, like, just because we do this doesn't mean I don't get nothing in the future, or I don't get my next raise, or like blah 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 blah, whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. If you want special conditions, like, hey, I need like these certain days off, make sure you tell them. You got things going on with your family, like, you need to get all this stuff out in the open before you choose to go work for someone, because it's just going to cause you grief and headaches later on when you call them up and say, oh, well, I need to do this because this, and they're like, well, look, we've got you scheduled to work and I need you to get busy, so just make sure that you know what you're getting into. That is the biggest thing. I mean, the first couple jobs you might make some mistakes, you might not like where you work. It is what it is. It's how you learn. It's how you gain knowledge and experience. Every time you move on to somewhere else, you take all that knowledge and you take it with you to the next place, and then you add on top of that and you take it to the next place. Some people find somewhere that they like to work and they stay there forever. Does not matter what you want to do, as long as you're happy and you love what you do and you have fun doing it. The biggest thing, as long as you can have fun doing it, it's worth doing it. And I've talked to so many people that are out there trucking and they're not making any money. You guys need to quit that stuff. Like, you guys need to knock it off. You're not stuck in one company unless you're such a bad record that no other insurance will let you get hired on somewhere. I don't want to hear it. If you can stay somewhere where you're not happy with the pay because you're scared to leave, that's on you and no one else. So if you guys have questions, leave them in the comments. This is going to be YouTube specific content here, and I really hope this gave you guys an insight to like some of the stuff that's in my head. Like, I try to share everything I know and like pick my brain, and I want you guys to know that I'm not better than anyone else. We all haul stuff, we all have stuff to get, and everything needs to get somewhere, and each of us is tailored to a specific industry and task and this and that, and we all find our place. It may take you a while to find your place or get somewhere where you want to be. It took me, I got my CDL in 2008 and I didn't get to start heavy hauling until 2017. So let that just sink in for a little bit. And I hustled every day. I hustled and hustled and hustled and busted my butt, and I worked hard and I learned everything I possibly could, and I excelled at everything I did. And you have to be able to look past the bad days to get through to the good ones. And if you see yourself way over here, you look, that's where I want to be. You can't get caught up in what's right in front of you. You have to keep looking forward, and you have to absorb the bad days, because you're going to have more good days and bad days, and that's just how it is. So I hope this helps. I'm going to cut it off here. You guys rock. Drop some comments below and let me know some more videos that you would like me to make. I don't want to get stuck on the same topics, but if you guys could let me know the videos you want to see, and I'll make them.